watching Morning at NTV.
We're glad you're still with us. Let's now dive into our tech note, why virtual education is important. I'll be introducing my guests shortly, but let me first give you a preamble. Public and private universities have been using virtual learning environments, or VLEs, since early 2000s to support delivery of blended learning, owing to increased uptake of technology in many aspects of life and the benefits of learning / e-learning. This is particularly beneficial rather to people with disabilities, since they may find it difficult to attend classes at universities or campuses. I have Dean RWOTHOMIO, the Chief Marketing Officer at ZEENODE.
Good morning.
And STEPHEN SSENDI, a communications consultant, to help us understand virtual learning or education and why it's important. Let me begin with Dean RWOTHOMIO and what ZEENODE is up to when it comes to simplifying virtual learning and education.
Good morning, viewers. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dean RWOTHOMIO, Chief Marketing Officer at ZEENODE. ZEENODE, we are a software development company, Ugandan owned, ISO certified in information security management and quality management systems. We develop cloud-based academic information management systems for high institutions of learning, that is our tertiary and vocational institutions. We automate their processes right from applications to registration, to enrollment, to results management, to academics life, up to the point of when a student gets their transcripts. Integrated along with this is the e-learning platform. What this e-learning platform does is it moves away the normal day-to-day physical learning by students at institutions, providing this learning to them at their convenience. You know, students enroll for these programs and choose whether to do the day program or to do the online learning. So when they choose the online, then at the time when there is a lecture scheduled, for instance, they will then log into their system, attend the lecture. It can be like it's a live lecture, but here they'll either view it using Zoom, Big Blue Button, or Google Meet. They choose whichever format the lecturer has put on the platform. Then they can also do actually exams online. So these are things that are beginning to change the way we are managing higher level of education in this country. And this all was brought about during the time of COVID-19. That's the time when we actually, it was a blessing in disguise, because initially we thought we were going to run out of business during that period of time. Institutions were not paying, they're saying we're not doing this and that. And students were looking at other options in which to achieve the end results of their education. So a lot of them started fidgeting here and there with building their own platforms. But still there was a gap missing. So they reached out to the developers like ZEENODE, for instance. Then we started helping them embrace this and ensure that it is reached out to the end user, the students who are actually willing to learn online at their time of convenience. And also actually at the time of completing their results or their programs at these institutions, they're able to have their transcripts also printed off the system. So that is the level, the journey that we've moved as far as automating these business processes at the higher levels of learning in Uganda is concerned.
Okay. That means the virtual learning environment right now is far more improved than it was when I was still making my way through the education system more than 2 decades ago.
Oh yes, so much, so much. A lot has changed. You will not believe it, but a lot has changed.
All right, let me come to Stephen Ssendi, a communications consultant and one of the honchos at the Ernest Cook Ultrasound and Education Institute. When I hear Dean RWOTHOMIO speak about the platforms and how they improve the experience for those that are seeking to find an education, I hear the business end of it. And many times the cost of technology and internet, especially data, could be a great hindrance to access to this kind of virtual learning environments. How is it being done at Accurate?
Okay, thank you very much, and well, thank you for the time. Good morning, viewers. Accurate, to start with, is an education institute. We award degrees and certificates. Our area of primary focus is medical imaging, biomedical technology, and humanities. We have over 30 programs at master's, bachelor's, and diploma level, mainly in medical imaging. And for our viewers who are not very familiar with the terminology, we are talking about areas like X-rays, CT scan, and MRI's technology. This is what you find in hospitals when people go for scans. We've been at this job for 20 years, and we have graduated over 1,700 students. When we were hit by COVID, prior to COVID, we offered online learning, but to a limited scale. But when we were hit by COVID, we needed to move with the times. So we embraced e-learning platforms, and we needed to provide, we continued providing training and tuition to all our students, both locally, globally, and regionally. We have been using different platforms, and we have delivered training without a stop.
Okay.
Now, what we are observing is that we are able to provide and to deliver training very effectively using online training. We are able to reach further areas than what we used to do because people don't have to walk here. So we can offer training in regions even outside of Uganda.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, that's very interesting. But allow me just go back to Dean RWOTHOMIO at ZEENODE. How have you factored in the realities of the time, including the fact that those who may be seeking education in virtual learning environments may not actually be able to afford, you know?
Thank you very much. What we are trying to do with the education institutions here in Uganda is the one and foremost is to make the system as cheap and affordable as possible to the end user who are the students.
That's right.
And the way we build the system is we more aim to improve on students' life experiences while at campus or any other institution. So we give them a one platform that is fully integrated, like I mentioned earlier, right from the point of application to the point of exit. So meaning that the charge that is usually incurred on this system is basically about between 20 and 30,000 per year.
20
to use the system
30,000 per year.
So you can imagine how cheap and affordable that should be. The only cost that the students would really bear would be the internet costs. And of course, we do have players who have made this even much easier. Players in the internet sector. I'll talk of one that is most liked by students now. It's called Leica. These people provide up to about 50 GB at about 30,000. So you find with that kind of providers or players coming into the system, the enablers, it then makes the whole process much affordable and much easier to the students to work with. So you find today, very many universities, those that are actually working with other universities around the world that are here in Uganda, have made it even much easier for us to make the sales to these institutions that this is where the world is going, and so should we go there as well? Because if we are left out, then you find students will be coming out of university but then having challenges when it comes to actual working with virtual situations.
That's right.
And you can also agree with me that a lot of companies are actually going for the work away from home and remote work of sorts. So when we bring these kind of collaborations with these institutions at this point in time, you find that when a student actually finishes their university or whatever level of higher learning, they embrace easily that mode of education, of working with these employers. Yeah. Okay,
that's pretty good and interesting developments that you're up to. I'll return to the Accurate. Is it Accurate?
Accurate.
That is Ernest Cook Ultrasound and Education Institute.
Yes.
Now, when it comes to virtual learning, one would, of course, listen to the dynamics of it and think that this is what employers will be looking out for, just like Dean RWOTHOMIO says, that the ability to work remotely is pretty much some of the attributes that are needed for today's worker. But the employment landscape itself might actually not be ready for remote work to the extent that it is preached. Everyone can talk about the fact that you can work at home, but still we do know in Uganda the average workplace really hasn't come to terms with working away from home.
Yes.
They need to see you.
Yes.
You need to log in,
Yes.
you know, so that they somebody thinks and is convinced that you're actually working.
Yes.
How are you blending this kind of thinking so that there is no culture shock, so to speak, when people have done their virtual education and then they step into a world that still expects them not to work from home or remotely, but within the physical arrangements?
Our institution offers practical training.
Okay.
It is practical. You must do practical training for you to be in this field. We cannot teach you virtually 100% for you to be able to do good scanning and so on.
That's
so
right.
we eventually need physical interaction. However, one of the best, one of our advantages, and this has been documented elsewhere, the kind of training we give to our students in the areas of specialization that they do, they find themselves up, ready for the market. And that market, because they have done the kind of the training that they need. So we have almost all our trainees, our professionals, they get jobs. So we don't have a problem of job market. Now, what we blend, which is now the new technology coming, is being able to use virtual technology for reviewing some of the tools that they are using. However, true, as you may say, there is no radiographer, there is no MRI scanner person who can do the scan virtually.
Yeah, that's the challenge.
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
You must have somebody, there must be physical interaction.
That's right.
So that one, in terms of general training, which is like general university education, the platforms like that are very handy up to a certain level. When it comes to the practicals, as in AQRA, we must have some physical interaction. These machines, the X-rays, the CT scans, you have to train people on the machine rather than on the virtual platform.
Okay. Yes. This question can be answered by any one of you. It basically zeroes in on recent developments. We had a controversy about expired courses recently, and it looked more like the officials at the Education and National Council for Higher Education rather were struggling with technology, the simple need to do assessments effectively and as quickly as possible. At what level are you in terms of collaboration from your different perspectives? Let me begin with Mr. Ssendi.
Yes, there was a bit of a misunderstanding, and I think it was hyped out. It was
context.
Yeah, out of context. You know, a course does not expire. A course is reviewed to bring it in line with the new developments in the industry.
Yeah.
So expiry was a wrong terminology for the courses. But at AQRA, when this was raised, we had engagement with the National Council of Higher Education. We explained ourselves. Fortunately for us, we didn't have any, we had about, I think, one only. But when we explained, the issue of expiry did not arise. So I think even the media, I'm sorry to point out, also hyped it out of context.
Or maybe we got it wrong, but we were able to rectify.
Yeah, now it's
seeking
rectified.
verification, and of course officials there are talking about exactly what was at play.
Yes.
In the private sector, the business end of it must make sense at the end of the day. What is your level of engagement?
Thank you very much. What we normally do when we're developing our solutions, we go by 3 guiding principles.
Okay.
One is policy-based. Policy-based, I mean, we go by the policies at the institutions.
The existing framework.
And exactly, existing framework. And some of these are guided by National Council of Education. So we look at the curriculums. These curriculums are in 2 versions. So what happens is we get the curriculums for the past, present, at that point in time, we integrate these within the system to enable that whatever we provide, we integrate, that whatever we automate from the institutions is something that is in agreement or in line with what the National Council of Higher Education has accredited these institutions to provide. So the issue of expiry of courses, like was mentioned in the media some time back, is really not to do with that the course is actually expired. Probably could be that because many of the institutions are working with silo systems, so it becomes hard for the National Council of Higher Education to even know if some of these institutions are actually training or providing the programs that they've accredited them to actually provide. So if you find there is this disengagements with the institutions and the providers, then because of lack of information coming through to the actual person is telling you to provide course X and you're providing the other, then you find there will be such scenarios where there will be miscommunication and people will think, okay, the course has actually expired because National Council doesn't actually know, or you've not gone back to renew for the next version of your curriculum. Okay. So we work together with these institutions and we integrate the system to ensure that whatever program they are providing on their platform that we've developed for them is that has been accredited by the National Council of Education.
All right. DEAN RWOTHOMIO, the Chief Marketing Officer at ZEENODE, many thanks for that submission, and many thanks to you too. STEPHEN SSENDI, Communications Consultant and an official at the Ernest Cook Ultrasound Education and Education Institute, or ACURE. It's been a pleasure having your 2 cents on virtual education and virtual learning environments in the country. That's it for Take Note, but do stay with us. The Kickstarter discussion is coming up next. We are going to be tackling the oversight role in environmental preservation. The fact that some people who have the money can actually degrade the environment and the government looks on. Is it actually looking on, or the oversight role is being done? Stay with us. Priscilla, Regina Naloga shall be at hand for that.